How's it going, guys? So I'm out here on the track just beside the parlour, and back in January, start of February I think it was, we resurfaced these tracks. So just on either side of the yard going out, they were getting a bit rough, so there was more lameness at the back end of last year. So we resurfaced them, where we cleaned them off and put down new material. We got in a local man, Eugene Burke. He does all of our tracks and stuff for us. He does a really good job every time, and we're always really happy with how it's done. So he came in, I have some drone footage I'll throw in here at the end, but he came in with a mini digger and dumper and cleaned off some of the tracks first, and then he came in with a big digger and put the new surface down and then rolled it in. It did a really good job. track is really after settling down now. Obviously it's a few months. It's looking really good. Cows are walking across it evenly with very little lameness, so really happy with it. When it comes to building a track, there's a couple of things we want to keep in mind to make sure that the track is formed correctly, so that it's good for the cows and that it's going to last. The longer it lasts, then the less you have to resurface like we did there this year. The first thing we want to do when building a track is make sure we have enough width. Now, one recommendation is that your track, no matter how big your herd is, because generally bigger herds will want wider tracks, a minimum of 5 meters wide. And the reason of this is so that when machinery are driving on it, if it's 5 meter wide, a tractor can drive on every part of the track. You can drive to the left and to the right, and in the middle you can drive all over it, so the track can be rolled down and worn evenly. Whereas if it's narrower, if it's only 4 meters wide, all of your machinery drives in the same area, and then you get these two trenches formed up the middle, and that can hold water. And then once water's on the track and stays on the track starts to fall apart. Sometimes it can be hard to justify putting in a 5 meter track, particularly if you have a smaller herd or if it's far away from the parlour. But I would recommend, no matter what size your herd is, especially on tracks closer to the parlour where you have a lot of traffic, go at least 5 meters wide. If you have a bigger herd, you can go wider when it gets closer to the farm, and then maybe if it's very far away where it gets very little traffic, then you can go narrower. But for most of your main roadways, a minimum of 5 meters wide is best, so that the track can wear evenly from machinery. The second tip I'd have when you're building a track is the camber. So that's the slope of the track. So ideally for cows, it's great if the track is flat, because cows like to walk on flat surfaces. But if there's flat, then water can't get off, and we want to make sure that the water can get off the track, because if water's sitting on it, it can loosen up the stones, and when machinery drive on it, cows walking it, the stones can get flicked up and moved off the track and it wears away. So the important thing is to get the water off. So therefore we want to create a camber or a slope on the track. So right where I'm standing here, you can see the track is in the middle of a field, so it's field on either side. So this is highest in the middle where I'm standing right now. The track is highest and it slopes off to either side. And this is kind of the best thing you want to do, because it shortens the distance in which the water has to travel to get off the track. So therefore there's less erosion from water if you have a lot of rain, rather than it running across the whole track. It's just going off on either side. That's the best scenario. But if you have a track going along beside a ditch and maybe there's a dike beside it, you don't want it sloped into that, because if there's dirt in the track, you don't want it going into a dike. If there's a ditch there, it won't be able to go anywhere. So you'd slope it all to one side. I think it's between 4 and 7% of a slope you want. So it's not much. It's enough to get the water off. If it's not enough, the water won't get off the track, and if it's too much, the cows won't like it. So it needs to be not too sloped. And if the cows don't like it, they'll only walk on the very top or at the very edge. They won't walk on the sides where the slope is steepest. The third thing you want to do when you're building a good track is the material. Now, to build the track and form the shape of the track, you can use a base material that's cheaper, doesn't cost as much, and whatever is easiest to build up the track. And ideally, if you dig out topsoil as well, it's better to remove the topsoil so the track is less likely to sink. If it sinks, it can sink more in certain areas, then hold water. Again, we don't want it to hold water. It's a cheaper material if you have it as the base, even if it's not ideal for cow's feet, as long as you put a good surface material over it. So depending on it depends where you are and what's available and what you have of what material you're going to use. Around here, a lot of our tracks are formed with some gravel we had on the farm, but the surface is slig, which is the kind of local around here, a type of rock. I'll show you up close. So this is slig, and I won't be, if I'm able to, yeah, see, that just broke there. You know, it's really, obviously I can't break it there when it's on camera. Oh, there we go. So it breaks up, so it gets lots of traffic, it breaks down. Muck and dirt and dust kind of acts as a glue as it breaks down the stone from all the traffic, and it gets more and more even. And all the muck and stuff acts as a glue, and it actually forms a very nice track. That's what we call it, slig. It's kind of what's local here. It's what everyone uses around our part of the country. So it's quite good because you want the surface smooth. You don't want little stones and things. They're going to be uncomfortable for cows and cause lameness. So the most important thing is you have a nice smooth material. And these are things I've learned from lots of other people, and from experience as well, from us building tracks and seeing how they get damaged and stuff over the years. But most of it I kind of learned from a lot of other people. Putting up your fence beside the track. We are very guilty for not following this rule. Ideally you want to put the wire on the track side of the pole. We always like to do that, more secure. But you want to put the pole 1 foot away from the edge of the track, at least. See, that pole's in a good position there. So when you're building your track, you'll have the urge to put the pole right beside the edge of the track, but don't. You want to put it out because the cows will walk, obviously their feet are narrower than the rest of their body, and they will, if they're walking beside the wire, they're actually walking in 1 foot from where the wire is. So if the wire is beside the track, the cows can't walk all the way to the edge of the track. Same with machinery. If the wire's right beside the track, machinery can't drive all the way to the edge of the track. Therefore, the edges of your tracks don't get you know, beaten down as much as the rest of the tracks, and then they start to be a little bit higher as the rest of the track gets compacted, and then water, any dirt that's there, starts getting caught up in that, and you get a big verge, a big curb or on the side of the track, and again you start to hold water. You're holding dirt, you're holding water, track starts to fall apart. And keep out the pole 1 foot away from the track. Machinery can drive all the way to the edge of the track. Cows can walk on the edge of the track, because you can even see here, the cows aren't really walking here as it is, but they have walked pretty much all the way, nearly. But on some of our other tracks, it is quite obvious where we put the pole right beside it, and the track's not getting worn down at all at the sides. So I think right here the track is really, really good. All the water and any dirt that's running off it goes onto the soil and can go into the soil rather than building up on the track, and it will kind of slowly build up over time, but you can kind of clean that away. If it starts to build up a bit of a verge underneath the fence, you can kind of clear that away if it's stopping water getting off. But if you keep the wire out, you won't have to do that as much. So there are my kind of 4 quick tips of what I learned from other people and from experience on our own farm on what to do to maintain a good track. So first of all, making sure the track is wide enough, at least 5 meters wide, so that machinery can drive on all parts of the track. Second part, making sure there's a good camber, so ideally cambering to either side, or else if there's a ditch or dike on one side, to sloping into one side, between 4 and 7% of a camber, so the water can get off of it. Point 3, make sure you use a good material, particularly for the surface, so that's good for the cow's feet. And last point, number 4, keep your fence line out 1 foot from the edge of the track, so that you can use the full width of the track you've built. Thank you so much to Eugene Burke and all of his team for doing a super job on the tracks. Really happy with it as usual. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, make sure you give it a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.